Hey guys, welcome to the 229th edition of the Metamorphosed Malleability. This review, of course, is based, like I said, on the 229th shift/chapter by Dizzy Arts, aka Michelle. And this one is entitled The Other. And it basically picks up where the last one left off. And this one actually is to the point as to why this other gene, the other omega that appeared towards the end of last week's edition, last week's shift chapter, called Fursuit 2.0. Of course, like I said, the subtitle for the 229th edition here is The Other, which basically emphasizes this character, this other omega, who calls himself Gene. Excuse me. And basically, Gene, like I said, he gets right to the point. You know, he tells Briella that the reason he's there is he is well aware, first of all, of the investigation going on. He's well aware of the investigation that Duncan and his Surrey Genesis team is doing to find out which senior researcher betrayed them to that Dr. Zettweimer, the one that tried to get Briella to duplicate the formula that gave her powers, made her an omega, for himself. And he basically tells her that, one, he knows the team very well at Surrey Genesis, the investigation team, and that they're very good at what they do. That is what he has said. That's what he told her, basically. That's what he told her, basically. Hold on, I'm just checking something. But that's what he told her. That's what he told her and everything. That he knows the team, mostly the investigation team, and that they're very good at their job when it comes to trying to find out answers. Briella even wonders, though, okay, well, if you know so much, if you know probably who the traitor is, then why don't you use your telepathy powers? Because, he could read minds or see into the future, stuff like that, to let Surrey Genesis know who stabbed them in the back. And Gene is more along the lines of saying, well, one, he basically does say that Briella does have a fair point in that, that answer on that question, or asking that question, that she does have a fair point. And that he could use his powers to, to do all this. But he also lets her know, basically, that basically it took time for, it took him quite some time to convince the senior researchers that he was dead and that he has no intention of putting that effort at risk. And he basically also acknowledges that Duncan and his team at Surrey Genesis will need concrete evidence. He also states that if he were to help them out, his word wouldn't be nearly sufficient. And the other last thing he points out is they are, as I mentioned earlier, he knows that they are quite accomplished investigators, and that he knows they're on the verge of solving the case, which is why he came to Briella. And the reason he came to Briella is basically he's here to let her know that once the case is solved, once the culprit, the betrayer, is removed from the new senior is removed from Surrey Genesis, basically, that someone will need to be, need to be named in their place. And he points out that Briella is the leading candidate to fill that vacancy. Now, Briella, of course, pushes this off by saying that basically telling Gene that what Duncan told her about previous researchers in the past as being like that she'll pass on the offer, that she won't take it if it would be extended. But Gene basically says Gene counters that, the other Omega, Gene, counters that by saying he would like to strongly encourage Briella to accept. And of course, Briella has questions like, okay, well, what does that mean for you? Like, how does that benefit you in the long run and everything? And Jean basically tells her that Suri Genesis is Suri generous, Suri generous. I'm trying to recap the name here because I'm trying to recap what happened, so I can tell you in this review. Suri, that's Suigeneris. Suri generous, I guess. Basically says that Suri generous is in danger. That throughout its past several years, basically too many to count, senior researchers have abused the powers they were given and turning their backs, basically betraying those that they were supposed to provide care for or that were under their care. And he basically explains that if Suri Generis falls, basically, implodes, is no more, that enhanced humans like himself, Briella, and others will become public knowledge. And that they, or him and Briella, we, specifically, as he puts it, would be hunted either for extermination by those that fear them, like let's say X-Men. You know how the story in X-Men is basically how certain humans, if not a majority of humans, fear the mutants and, want them locked away or terminated because they're not sure what they're capable of. Well, that's basically what he's saying here. He's saying enhanced humans would be public knowledge and that they, and specifically him and Briella, would be hunted down either for extermination by those that fear them and what they could do and represent, or exploitation by those who would convert what they could do. In other words, people, instead of hunting them down out of fear and because they're not sure what they'd be bringing to the table, he also says that there could be those that would use them. In other words, trick them into using their abilities to make money, make profit by exploiting them for whatever they want or whatever they feel will make them a profit. He also points out that the worst thing, though, could be if the senior researchers continue the darkened path, enhanced humans, like themselves, would be in danger from the very organization created to assist them. He points out that Briella could change that, and that she is the kind of person that Suri Generis needs right now. And he basically does tell her that he's, begging her to, not just for his sake or her sake, but for the sake of other humans like them, other enhanced humans like them, that, should she be given the opportunity presented in front of her, of the mantle of a senior researcher, that she should take it. And of course, Briella, she's taking this all in, feeling like the world has just been dropped on her shoulder and everything. Because of this, revelation Jean has given her. But she basically answers by saying, look, I have plans, and one of them is not to be locked away in some secret base, away from the world, and my loved ones. That's not part of the plans. That's not among the chief. That's not chief among them at all. Now, Jean does, reassure her that won't be the case, because senior researchers have leeway to live and work wherever they wish, and that the only reason most of them remain at the facility has more to do with the advanced labs and seclusion to act as they please than anything. In other words, those that decide to live at the facility are there to take advantage of the advanced equipment, computers, stuff like that, that helps them along in their research and all that, and their studies, and that they could, do as they please. Like if they want to temporarily test, whatever they're working on themselves, or maybe a plant or whatever, without people, questioning what they're doing from a public eye, they can do it. Basically they have more free range. But he's also letting her know that even if you don't want that, you don't have to worry. You could still work at home and, be like there's nothing's really changed, or act like nothing's really changed, except now you're just a senior researcher with a little bit more freedom, to go out and about when you please, and to have a little bit of a break here and there. Now, after that, he does realize, okay, Crystal's going to wake up because his hold on her, knocking her out, is going to wear out. It's going to wear off. And he basically ensures Briella that when Crystal wakes up, it'll be like she just finished breakfast or whatever. Basically acknowledging that Crystal will not be aware of what just happened, which is an example of the extent of his powers. Now he does, as he leaves, he hopes Briella would consider what he said carefully, and that he's not a clairvoyant, and that he knows enough that if changes are not made in the future, or not made at Genesis, the future at Genesis will become a dangerous one. Now, Briella, of course, wants to know, basically wants to know if she doesn't accept, would he use her family, Ilania, her best friend, or Crystal to force her into accepting? And he basically says, no, I'm not that kind of a person. He basically says, look, I'm not that kind of a person or anything. And that he has no desire to make her an enemy, or basically angering her to a point where she could bring the full force, the full brunt, if you will, Suri Generis, down on him and hunting him down and everything, because that would be suicidal. And he says he basically didn't escape the senior researchers, only to spend the rest of his life on the run from Briella. So after that, he leaves, and Crystal, starts to come about, because again, he just knocked her out to the point that it'll feel like, she blanked out, or she just fell asleep for a moment and not know anything else beyond that. And Briella, of course, was wondering, okay, do I tell Crystal what happened? Do I let Ilania know what happened? And for the time being, she realizes, okay, that's probably not going to be the best idea, because this Jean could find out, and she doesn't want to risk Crystal's or Ilania's or anybody that she's friends with or loves, their lives in danger. So basically, Crystal wakes up. Briella, as the Fursuit, gives her back full control and everything. Crystal basically states that breakfast made her sleepy. And again, Briella's like, okay, what do I do here? I promised me and her wouldn't keep no more secrets, but with this Jean individual, like I mentioned, she's worried that this Jean individual could find out, and she doesn't want to risk Crystal's endangerment. So she does go back to what she did towards the beginning, before Jean showed up in the last chapter, of doing the Briella Devil and Briella Angel on the shoulders of the Fursuit, trying to convince her to call in sick from work or try to work from home. But Crystal's like, that's tempting, sweetie, but I've got to go to work because I have a must-attend meeting to be part of today. But then she kind of flirts with her and says, but maybe tomorrow we could work that out. And Briella's like, I'll hold you to that. And thus releases her from the Fursuit so she can go get ready. But she still tries to tempt her into staying by doing little poses as the Fursuit, which Crystal acknowledges, Briella, you're not making this easy for me. And Briella then changes back into a little Siamese calico cat, and she just shoos her off, says, okay, go get ready for work. I have other things to take care of right now. As well, basically. She instead of, failing the third time by doing seductive poses as the Fursuit, she goes back to being a Siamese calico cat, shoos her off to get ready for work, because she realizes, okay, I have this opportunity to take care of something as well. So once Crystal is gone, so after Crystal gets ready and leaves for work, Briella takes out the phone that one of the Sierra Genesis people, Greta, I believe. Yeah, Greta gave her, and she texts Greta by saying, "Tell Duncan I'm on my way to speak with him today," and she puts emphasis, capitalized emphasis on the word today. And you could definitely tell, obviously, when she's saying, basically texting in that manner, tell Duncan I'm on his way, I'm on my way to see him today with the, like I say, ending it with a capitalized emphasis on the word today. You can tell she's not happy. So, like I said, after Crystal leaves and everything, Briella texts Greta, lets her know what she's going to do. She basically oozes into a puddle, goes, up to a windowsill, morphs into a raven, and then in mid-flight, when she's high enough out of sight, if you will, morphs into a hydro-powered sailplane, if you will. She morphs into a hydro-powered sailplane, that flies towards. Hold on for a sec. Hold on. All right, sorry about that. I had to look something up here to make sure I get where I'm at. But basically, like I said, she goes from being a raven to a high-performance sailplane and towards her destination, which is the Maca, Maca campus, if you will. She basically reaches her destination, morphs into different things from sailplane to heron to sparrow, and finally a little wasp that allows her to zip through the HVAC outlet, air conditioning outlet, if you will, until she finally gets to Greta, and Greta says he's expecting you, because she could see that the wasp is not just any ordinary wasp, it's Briella. And she says he's expecting you. So Briella goes in, goes into the office, into Duncan's office, and morphs back into herself. Duncan as Jaime, which is an AI for cone of silence, please. Basically, a way to make sure that the conversation is just between the two of them and nothing else. And Briella, after, like I say, she reforms, tells him the other Omega visited her or paid her a visit, and that's where the 229th shift / chapter ends, with her letting Duncan know that the other Omega paid her a visit. So you can kind of tell that the next one, the 230th one, is going to be Briella wanting some answers, like, why didn't you tell me about this other Omega being in existence, and why does he know certain things that are going to happen possibly before they happen or before you do them and everything. So she's going to want a lot of answers and all that. She's probably even going to bring up the fact that he's let her know that they plan to offer her the role of senior researcher, and that if she does take it, she wants to basically keep things as they are, basically work from home, keep things as they are, stuff like that. Excuse me. So definitely the next chapter is going to be interesting. We do get a hint, like I said, towards the end of this one, that we might, like I mentioned last week, and I'll mention again, we are going to get ourselves an NFSW chapter very soon. Just don't know when. But we are going to get ourselves one, probably during the convention portion of the story, or sooner. We're not sure. But yeah, 230th one is going to be really interesting, and it might have some revelations in there that I don't think any of us would have predicted, but some of us may have. But we'll see. overall, the story was straight to the point, is what it was. That's what it was. It was straight to the point, and I appreciate that. I like the fact that it takes another Omega being, enhanced human, like, Briella, to basically let her know, look, the reason, I'm here is because I know that Suri Generis, where where he's from, where he was from before, is going to be asking her to be the new senior researcher, and that despite how she feels about it initially, that she needs to accept it because, she might be the only one that's able to bring Suri Generis out of the darkness that the senior researchers currently have it in. So, and I do apologize for that, I got a notification there. But anyway, though, like I said, he's basically letting her know that, once the offer is given to her, should it be given to her, that she needs to accept it, because, if they choose somebody else outside of her, then the corruption is just going to continue. So, like I said, 230 is going to look really interesting to read when it comes out. Again, I'm pretty sure when they do the furry convention, if they do it, Michelle, that is, if she does it, it's going to result in them having some eroticness time together, if you catch my drift. As well as we might even get something like that beforehand or after, we'll have to see. But you could definitely tell that, right now we're kind of in the beginning stages. Like I said before, with the whole fursuit deal and stuff like that, and the plant deal and all that, that basically, it was the calm before the storm, right? After what they did with Mimi and everything, and then the whole plant thing and the fursuit deal, this was the calm before the storm. And right now, where we're at is the beginning stages of that storm. It's still calm, but you're getting a few, partial raindrops, here and there. Like, when the weather comes out and says you're going to get partial rain and, partial sun and all that. That's kind of what it's like right now. It's like we're getting a partial storm, but then we're going to get a bit of calmness before the heart of the storm comes into view, from what I could tell. But overall, the story's good, and I highly recommend you guys, if you haven't checked it out yet. Big props to Michelle Desi Arts for, making these chapters more interesting as time goes on, adding these twists, and then, of course, like I said, giving us a bit of a calm before the storm kind of deal. Like I said, we're kind of in like the beginning stages where it's like partially stormy, partially sunny, and then you're going to have a little bit of a rainbow coming afterwards before the heart of the storm shows up. So I like this pacing that she's doing when it comes to that kind of directive, and can't wait to see what she has in store next. Again, I still believe that Victor, or Vince, or whatever his name is, the fiance, boyfriend, is with what's going on. I really do. I still believe Crystal is going to get powers herself, which will definitely, once the story's all said and done, lead us into a very erotic, gooey, manable kind of session between the two, her and Briella. And yeah, I do also think that there's going to be a part in the stories, the NFSW portions of the stories, that is, where Crystal will soak in Briella again, and she'll submerge under her, and then we'll just see like a little imprint visage of Crystal's entire body on the surface of Briella, or something like that. Again, that's just my opinion, but we'll see what Michelle has in store. But I look forward to it. I really do. I look forward to, what she has in store for all of us. And I recommend you guys check it out as well. So that's all I'm going to say, guys. So till next time, leave a like down below for the video. Hit the notification button and to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Also, comment in the live chat, as well as comment below your thoughts on it overall. Also, support me at Venmo at Brian-Warmer-2, Cash App at BWRoses98. Also, support me at patreon.com/BWRoses. at the $1, $3 tier. $5 tier for Q&A is still in the works. Also, you could check me out at BEW Roses Discussions, all your audio podcast platforms except for Pandora. Also at VENMO at BEW Roses for content you can't get here on YouTube. And check out the Teespring store. Got some new merchandise up there as well. But until next time, guys, just wanted to do this little review. Let me know what your thoughts are. Live chat and below. And until then, I'll talk to y'all later.